So Airbnb is about to IPO, an initial public offering. If you don't know what that means, basically it is going to be listed on the US market, and it means you can buy and sell shares of Airbnb and own a small part of that company, and if it does well, hopefully make some money. Now the big question that everyone's asking, is Airbnb worth buying? It's one of the biggest hype stocks that are going to IPO this year, and it's coming very, very soon, early December. Big question, is it worth buying? The only way to find out is to bend Airbnb over, pull down its trousers, and give it an STI. So before we get into the video, first thing, welcome to LWT Trading if you're new here. If you're a returning subscriber, please, you know the drill, hit that like button till it turns blue. And if you are not subscribed, just, click that subscribe button and turn on the bell. This STI series is called Stock Ticker Inspection. It's got nothing to do with actually sexually transmitted diseases. If you want to support the channel, there is a Patreon link in the description where you can see what I am buying and selling via our WhatsApp group, or just simply join our chat room and ask me questions there directly. If you want to go the extra step and you are outside the US or Canada, you can join up via eTORO on the link below. Deposit, make one trade, and get lifetime access to my chat room for free, where you get weekly and daily updates of my current portfolio. Okay, Airbnb is gonna be IPOing very soon, and to be honest, it is the biggest IPO in my opinion, talk-wise, this year. Because quite frankly, it's a big household name, and it's a shock it has took Airbnb this long to actually get listed on the stock market. But let's have a little look a little bit more about Airbnb and why it is listing. Now the IPO is expected to come in early December, and the current valuation estimates of Airbnb is currently around $30 billion US. The IPO listing itself is expected to raise $3 billion US in capital to Airbnb. If you want to know more about how stocks make money by listing on the US market, just drop me in the comments below. I have been thinking about making a video on that, but hit me up in the comments if you want to see how these companies actually make more money by being listed than not listed. But moving on, the ticker that it's going to use will be ticker symbol ABNB, or Alpha Bravo November Bravo, if you're an ex-military person like myself. And they haven't been messing around. They're going to be listed straight away on the NASDAQ stock exchange with underwriters Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. So literally zero fucking around from Airbnb, straight in with the big boys on the big exchange there. Now the good news is, usually non-publicly listed companies don't have to fully disclose their earnings. But because Airbnb are in the process, they have been disclosing a lot. So we can actually have a look a little bit more about Airbnb's previous earnings. So Airbnb, as we can understand, that sector has been hit massively hard. The travel and tourism sector especially hard in this whole pandemic situation. This Miley Cyrus virus will just not go away. Now in the first 9 months of the year, Airbnb's revenue is actually down 32% in the first 9 months compared to last year. And most of that lost difference actually came in the first and second quarter. As expected, people are slowly starting to move around the world again, but more importantly, people are actually still using Airbnb for shorter distances. They call it the one tank travel. So you can basically fill your car up on one tank and go in a 200-mile radius to a different location, use an Airbnb and come back, and that's sort of how Airbnb has been surviving. But because of these massive losses, Airbnb didn't sit around like a lot of companies did and hope for bailouts from the government. They actually went and axed 25% of their current workforce, reduced executive salaries, and slashed their marketing budget a lot. So they actually took quite good action in dealing with this pandemic and didn't want to just sit there and hope for the best. They actually took action, which is a very, very good sign from an investor perspective. Now, despite all the craziness that has happened around this Miley Cyrus virus, Airbnb actually made a profit last quarter, which is not surprising considering the size of the company and the popularity, but they did make a profit nonetheless. They actually made a $219 million profit last quarter, which is great to see that the company is slowly seeing an upwards trend in terms of revenue this year alone. Now, the bull case for why you should buy Airbnb stock on its IPO day is very, very generic. And I'm just going to say here, this is not financial advice. This is just my opinions. And to be completely clear, I probably won't be buying Airbnb anytime in the next couple of months, because personally for me, I don't like to trade stocks that have recent IPOs because they are too volatile. That said, if you do hold some of these stocks, if you look at Facebook and things of the sort, they can do well long term. but also it can go terribly wrong, and you just need to look at Aston Martin to have a look at that as a reverse example. Aston Martin stock, actually, there's a video coming later on Thursday, so, you know, make sure you've subscribed. Now, the bull case for Airbnb stock is that they have an organic source of revenue. And what I mean by that is, if we look a little bit more into what the company says, they say that 91% of traffic comes direct to Airbnb's app or website. So what that means is they're not spending loads of money on marketing or getting ads annoyingly like on this video. I'm sure you've had a few of them already, but basically they're not out pushing Airbnb too much. A lot of people already know the household name, and 91% of their current revenue is estimated to come direct to source, which means they're not having to share profits with anyone else, which is a big tick in the box. Of course, the end of this Miley Cyrus virus should see travel completely revamp up. Everyone's got holidays locked in from last year. Everyone should have a bit of savings left over, and more importantly, wives, husbands, and partners are driving each other crazy, and you need to go and sit on that sandy beach or ski holiday somewhere, and a lot of people will want to use Airbnb, quite frankly, because the hotels are still at half staff and closed. So Airbnb will continue to do well, in my opinion, in the coming months. In fact, I think just going on that alone, if they IPO'd a couple of months ago, it would probably be worth looking at buying Airbnb right now just because of that. But that said, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who's going to dilute at the opening bell. Now, another massive thing is Airbnb estimate that their market space they're operating in, the travel, tourism, and excursions, is estimated to be worth a whopping $3.4 trillion US. So if you think about Airbnb only takes up a small portion of that, there is definitely room to expand and to grow into other ventures and basically grow the market cap, which is what everybody is watching this video for. So given the fact that the sector is that big, Airbnb is already a well-established name, it can actually grow more into that sector. Hopefully that makes sense, but in ultimate terms, small fish, massive pond. And that fish will eventually grow into that pond, hopefully. Don't know why I did that there. That was a bit weird, but hopefully. And another big thing for the bull case is Airbnb is obviously a recognized brand, and more importantly, it's becoming a well-known word. A lot of people are saying I'm using an Airbnb when they're not actually using an Airbnb, when they're just saying at a friend of a friend's place and paying for it. So Airbnb is actually becoming Googleized, as it's called, and it's a well-household name. So it's actually taking many, many bits of revenue from hotels. And I think that if this market continues for the next 60, 70 years, a lot of hotels are actually going to struggle, and Airbnb will probably become the dominant force in there, just like we've seen with Uber and taxis, just like we've seen originally with Booking.com, with hotel chains. Airbnb could and probably will continue to dominate and take over that from strength to strength. So very big bull cases there, but that does not mean you should buy it on their IPO day, just to be clear. So before we get into the bear case of Airbnb, please make sure you have subscribed, turn on the bell, and that like button is blue, because I'm pretty sure it's not. I've checked, it's definitely not blue. Make sure that like button is turned blue by the end of this video. And if you're feeling very, very horny, give it a share on Twitter and tag me in it. I dare you. I dare. It's a dare. You've got to do it. In fact, it's a double dare. Go share it on Twitter and tag LWT Trading in it. Okay, the bear cases are slightly worrying. I have to be quite frank with you here, because for me, the biggest thing with Airbnb is once it's listed, it's got to be double clean. And there is a massive, massive problem with liability. If you go into an Airbnb and you completely trash it, what happens if that person does not pay the fine, the damages, whatever? Airbnb could be liable, and that is variable on country, states, etc. So there is a lot of liabilities there. And it goes one step further, because Airbnb have admitted that there has been some shootings, fatalities, and other crimes and violent acts committed on its listings, which is a damn big worry. They go even further and say that there has actually been sexual assaults on hosts, guests, and other third parties, and even that they found hidden cameras in some of their venues, which is damn worrying if you think about it. And how can they control this? I mean, I know it's not necessarily Airbnb's fault, but it's very, very hard to control, to make sure that there's no hidden camera in the shower, for example, when you go stay at your next Airbnb, unless you take a little Ghostbusters style camera detecting equipment. But, you know, I'm pretty sure not everybody's going to carry one of them. Maybe that's a good business idea. We should invent that. Anyone good with tech? Comment below. Another thing is Airbnb has been actually frowned upon by a lot of governments and countries. And in fact, like for example, Hungary actually has some restrictions now on Airbnb, how many times you can actually stay at these venues. Iceland, Singapore. There's many countries also limiting the use of Airbnb. And these restrictions, we don't know how they're going to play out, and it's a lot of uncertainty. And the reason for that is probably down to a lot of hosts not paying tax and declaring revenue, but also the risk involved. The same reason that Uber was banned in a few countries, because you don't know who is driving you at the end of the day. I know there's an argument that they're vetted more than taxi drivers. I completely get that. But still, nonetheless, it's something that a government is not in control of, and they don't really like losing control, as we damn know. Just look at France. I'm going to get loads of French people commenting hate now, but I don't really care. Vive la France. Their biggest competition really is Booking.com and Expedia, and they're already, in my opinion, way ahead of them, so it shouldn't really matter too much. But the biggest risk for me is short-term on their IPO. IPOs are super volatile. We actually had a member in our chat room back in the day and who said that there's a simple pattern his uncle taught him. Every single third day on an IPO, it's always green, which is complete bull. It doesn't work, it doesn't exist, and in fact, here's some examples of that didn't work. So Martini, if you're watching this, how's it going, buddy? Hope you're doing safe and okay. Not hating on you, just that pattern doesn't work. Hope you're doing okay. But IPOs are quite frankly dangerous on their opening day, and even in the first couple of months, to be honest. You don't know when insiders are going to sell. You've got people who've got shares of the company who've never been able to publicly buy and sell them on a day-to-day basis. They've had to put in a form and sell it manually, so they could unload as well. You don't know if that's going to come in. You don't really know if there's going to be any offerings, if it spikes. There's just a lot of uncertainty there with an IPO. So for me, with IPOs, I tend to wait at least 3 months before I really start looking at it, unless it dramatically falls. And I've never really seen a stock that's fell that much on its IPO few days before I've started looking at it in that first 3 month period. So that's just my view on approaching it. That is not going to say Airbnb is going to fall on day one and continue to fall, because given the current market with the crazy Robin Hooders, if you want to call them that, it could well spike because it's a big household name. But who knows? For me, I'm just going to stay away and just, keep my hands clean from Airbnb for the time being. But if you are going to buy it, my biggest advice would be do not buy everything with leverage. Just if you're going to say throw in $1,000 to Airbnb, in total, I'd throw in $100 today, $100 in every single big red candle, because I guarantee you will get value sooner or later at an average price. It is very rare that these companies who are listing these stocks, like Goldman and Morgan in this case, get the price and valuation exactly right. And that's why they're volatile on their IPO day. So that's my advice, is as always, just slowly scale in big red days. We've got no chart and no previous resistance points to go off, so just be very careful. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Please let me know, are you buying or selling Airbnb? And what's the worst Airbnb you've ever stayed at? If you want to have a bit of fun, post the worst Airbnb link you can find in the description. So that's it from me. See you in the next one. Aston Martin coming very soon. I hope you all enjoyed the QU exclusive interview. Part 2 of that on See You Your Sunday is coming this Sunday. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Be safe, invest safe. Peace.